Okay, I think it's, yes. Is it on? Is there any light on your thing now there?
Yeah, it says recording up on my corner.
All right, great. So, guys, I'm a newbie at this Zoom, but I'm here with my great friend, Cara Steinmetz. Welcome to Law and Justice, Cara.
Hi, Jean.
How are you?
I'm
You're-
good, thanks. How are you, girl?
I'm great. You're surviving so far the global pandemic that is the coronavirus.
We're doing all right. We're holding it together, just like everyone else. Yeah, yeah.
And Cara, so today is World Down Syndrome Day, isn't that correct?
That's right. Yeah, the 21st of March, a significant date actually, because everybody with Down syndrome has a third copy of the 21st chromosome. So it's not just a random date. It's
Right, okay.
103. Yeah,
Okay.
World Down Syndrome Awareness Day.
And so why is this of significance to you personally?
So I have a little boy, Noah. He's 8, and he has Down syndrome. He's my youngest. He has an older sister, Anna. And obviously today is, in general, a day of celebration. I think the topic of Down syndrome is widely misunderstood, particularly if you have no direct association with it. But World Down Syndrome Awareness Day is very much about celebrating people, celebrating families, celebrating communities, and just showing great stories of success and life associated with Down syndrome. There's a lovely movement called Odd Socks and Rock Your Funky Socks on the day, which people essentially wear colourful, mismatched socks just to represent that we're all different, we're all individuals, and it's a lovely day of fun and good spirit.
Well, obviously, I know you and I know Noah, and he and my daughter Aurora were born around the same time, and I remember them in our old house on their bellies, you know, doing tummy time and playing with the little toys and having fun with your two dogs at various points, tugging out of their ears. But tell me a little bit about Noah. What kind of a chap is he? What kind of a character?
He's awesome, quite frankly. Noah is a very social little boy. He's very much a bundle of love, but he loves his friends, he loves school, he loves his routine. He's a very fun-loving little boy. He's also very hardworking. He is extremely motivated and very driven by his own achievements and his own little successes, and he brings a lot of positivity to our world, and a lot of perspective. You know, we were chatting earlier today about this whole situation that we're all locked indoors. We're all trying our best to perceive social distancing. Noah will be a little dude who will take every moment as it comes. He'll take the situation we're in right now, he'll embrace it, he'll make the most of it, and he's not going to worry about what's happening tomorrow until tomorrow comes.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is what's getting us through these few weeks.
Well, you know, there's a big saying about how important it is to be able to be present in the moment. And a lot of us overthink and worry. And it's true for you from observing Noah at various points. He just gets stuck into things that he's interested in and can ignore madness going on around him with other, you know, fighting children or whatever. But tell me as well about your blog. It's Getting Down with Noah. Is that the name? Did I get that right?
Yeah, so I started a blog a few years ago. Essentially, Noah is a very capable little boy and very involved in our community. So I knew early on that he was going to go to our local school. He was going to be part of the local community. He has some challenges, and we can talk about those in a few minutes. But really, as part of that drive for him to be successful at school and successful in our community, I decided to start the blog mainly to talk to people at the school door, other parents, other people in our community that will meet him every day that may have questions, that may not understand Noah in the way that I do. Communication can be a challenge for him. So I wanted to give him a voice and to be able to kind of portray the little boy that he is before he started school, because I felt if other people had a better level of understanding of who he is and where he's coming from, he would be more successful in the mainstream environment that he's found himself in. And I will say that the response to it has been overwhelming. Even today on World Down Syndrome Day, his school, even though nobody's at school, posted about the day on their website, and there's parents from all over our community posting pictures of themselves wearing their odd socks. And Noah's the only boy in the school with Down syndrome.
Okay.
It had a significant impact on a lot of people in his life, and it's incredible to see the results of it. And it's just a true, honest reflection of life with him. There's nothing in the blog that's, you know, there's no bells and whistles to it. It's just a real portrayal of life in our family and life with him, and it's brilliant to be able to share it with other people.
So right, it's not all kind of, oh, it's a constant blessing, or it's magical moments all the time. It kind of shares some of the more frustrating moments of being a parent to any child, but particularly a child then with additional needs, I'm guessing.
Yeah, of course it is. And look,
to be truthful,
whose life is full of flowers and butterflies, they're very lucky. Mine
they're
is
liars.
They're not telling the truth, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very honest.
Yeah.
It's very honest. And you know, if you have a child with an intellectual disability in the community, there are many challenges presented with that, and mainly, you know, you worry about their vulnerability, you worry about other people being able to understand them. Noah, I would never have known before having him how hardworking people with disabilities are, right? And that you, I certainly would have had the perception that people with or Down syndrome were maybe were certainly vulnerable, maybe, you know, needed a lot of support from other people, but I wasn't so aware of how hardworking they as individuals are in order to fit in with everybody else. And the respect that I have for him and for all kids who work in a challenging situation is huge, and I, you know, want to portray that with what I write.
And so you wrote a lovely post today on World Down Syndrome Awareness Day. Can you tell me about some of the points that you mentioned a few there, but just how has it been like at home now in this kind of semi-lockdown? Because we're not fully locked down yet. We might well be in a few days' time. We're not yet. How has it been, though, to take him out of his school routine and the kind of soothing rituals that maybe accompany that, or perhaps they're not so soothing, but, you know, just that space and the social interactions and stuff?
Yeah, so I suppose first of all, today has always been a day of celebration, and we had huge plans with Noah's school. He's in first class in the boys' school. It's his first year in this school, and we were going to do a day of awareness within the school for World Down Syndrome Day. So obviously that didn't pan out. We're all at home. So in the post, I was just writing about how our situation at the moment, with him missing out on his routine, missing out on the fact that his education is really crucially important to Noah. We don't take school for granted. He has worked incredibly hard to get to where we are now. In first class from September, the change in him in terms of reading and writing and his ability to communicate with other kids, his social interaction, has been so good for his confidence and so good for him in terms of his learning opportunity, that being out of school now indefinitely is a huge challenge for a little boy like Noah. Routine and consistent learning is very important, and he learns by repetition. He learns through routine. He learns through all of those interactions. So that for us is extremely challenging. On the flip side, when you take Noah's perspective on life, you know, he's learning all the time, and you can turn simple day-to-day activities into a learning opportunity for Noah. And for him personally, he can turn anything into a positive adventure. He's quite happy to be stuck at home, and you know, he loves being here. He's got total control over what happens every day. Having mum as his teacher is quite exciting. You know, he's involved in the kitchen. I'm letting him cook. I'm letting him do stuff I wouldn't normally let him near. because there's total, carnage in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So he's turning it into a very, very positive experience, which
Yeah.
always reminds me that he's the guy bringing perspective into our lives on a regular basis. But it doesn't take away from the fact that this is very difficult for him and difficult for me,
Yes.
because I am his speech therapist. I am his teacher. I am now homeschooling him. I'm trying to do maths with him. I'm trying to get him to hold his pencil. Everything it's a challenge.
Yeah, without losing your temper probably at times, because it must be frustrating.
It's
If
extremely
it's anything like with my own two, listening to Keith as the moon tour next door, there's
yeah.
plenty of not listening and distraction and all sorts,
Yeah, 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 there is. And, I have Anna who's 11, she's in 5th class, and she's great at sitting down and tackling her homework. Noah will do 10 minutes, and then, he wants to chase the butterflies or see what's going on outside. He doesn't want to sit at the desk without a proper structure. So it's challenging. I'm sure lots and lots of parents are experiencing the same thing. I do absolutely have concerns as to how he's going to catch up when we get back to school.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there will be any support to help him do that. And I really worry about how ready he's going to be for next year.
Okay.
Like 5 weeks out of school this year is serious.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And so given the fact that this is the context of all of this is the fact that we're in this coronavirus pandemic, I take it there's been no real information targeted at parents of children with intellectual disabilities about what additional supports they might get online or elsewhere. Have there been?
No, I mean, there is a lot of information out there from a health perspective.
Yeah.
We're very lucky with Noah. He doesn't have health concerns. A lot of children with Down syndrome do, and respiratory issues are very common in children with Down syndrome. So we're very lucky that we're not dealing with anything like that.
Indeed.
But from a learning perspective, I mean, there are, like, all parents around the country are getting lots of online resources sent to them and ideas for what you can do at home, but nothing very targeted to how I can make sure he stays on top of things. And I mean, his teacher and his SNA are very good. We're very lucky. They sent home a lot of resources that we can work with. So I'm doing that with him on a one-to-one basis. But, it's not the same as 8 hours of routine in school or 6 hours or whatever it is that they have, right? So, yeah.
And does he have any other appointments that he has during the week, Cara, either for extracurricular activities or support activities that you obviously can't do now either?
Yeah, everything's cancelled.
Yeah. Okay.
So Noah, in terms of what outside of school activities, Noah does speech therapy every 2 weeks with Down syndrome through Down Syndrome Ireland.
Yeah.
It's subsidized, but we pay for those speech therapy sessions every 2 weeks. And then he's part of Special Olympics, gymnastics and swimming, which he absolutely loves and he's very good at. And he does one-on-one swimming lessons in our local community centre as well. So he's big into that. All of that is gone, so, and I know all children are experiencing that, but he doesn't have the same level of understanding as to why it's gone at this point.
Yeah.
So we're filling up those, empty spaces with other activities. But outside of that, even in his normal scenario, Noah doesn't get a lot of additional support. I mean, a lot of his speech therapy or physiotherapy or occupational therapy is done with me at home.
Right.
So we are continuing to do that.
Talk to me a little bit about when Noah was younger, because obviously I know you, so I know bits and pieces of this story and the efforts that you have made. Like, you're a Trojan mom who's put in so much time and effort into getting what your son needs and deserves. But talk about a little bit about some of the, I suppose, education policy or like you and Noah and your family have been subject to these policies. So in relation to, say, access to an SNA, were there any difficulties there when you were thinking about, okay, Noah's going to have to go to school now, what supports will he have? How accessible are they to him?
Yeah, I think, there's really no clear path for families. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we're dealing with. So when Noah was very small, we had an early intervention program with our local provider, and he would have had physiotherapy and speech therapy and various activities up until the age of 6. But when you're entering the school system, there isn't a very clear path other than the child gets an assessment, a psychological assessment before school. And essentially, your child is categorized into what level of intellectual disability they have, with the objective that you can choose the right school path for your child. Now, bear in mind, this is a 5-year-old little boy, and your assessment is, let's say, 40 minutes.
Hmm.
So the performance of a 5-year-old boy in a 40-minute session, regardless of who the child is
Yes.
dependent on many factors.
Many, many, many.
What
Yeah.
they did the day before, how they feel when they got up, is it raining,
Yeah.
anything impact what's going to happen there. So that is the assessment that we had. Noah was diagnosed with a mild intellectual disability, and we decided that we were going to go to our local school. And from there, your battle starts, right? The biggest opportunity you have as a parent is to get involved in the school. So you get
Okay.
involved in the parents group, you get involved in the board of management, you get involved as much as you can with the school, so that you can have some influence and that you can help educate the school in terms of what your child needs. I think if you were depending just on the process of the assessment and what happens next, I think it's a very difficult journey. Now, in our situation, we have a great school. The local school is fantastic. He has had SNA access. He's now in first class, so it's his 3rd year in school, and his SNAs have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what's next. I don't know what next year will look like. You live year to year,
Yeah.
dependent on how he's doing and what's going to happen next. So there really isn't a path where you can say, okay, we're here now, and this is where we're going next, and this is what we need, and this is who we need to talk to. All of that is a little up in the air.
I remember when we were talking about this a good while ago. It was possibly even quite a bit before he went to primary school, but you were looking to the future, and stuff about SNA access, and the criteria, and some of the advice as well from other moms, moms with kids with Down syndrome, and trying to hedge your bets and stuff. Do you think we need different guidance for what SNAs should do, or the need? Like, do SNAs, for example, do they help with schoolwork all that much, or what type of role do they play for children in general? Or is it very dependent on the child's needs?
It depends on the child's needs and probably also the school. In essence, SNAs are allocated for care needs.
Okay.
So their role should be specifically based on care needs.
Okay.
However, in the majority of schools, you're not going to have enough resource cover or educational support to help the child in the classroom. So the SNAs get involved in a lot of that activity as well. Essentially, when you're starting school with a child, like in Noah's situation, where communication is a challenge, where maybe being able to, his muscle tone would be weaker, so being able to sit in the classroom for long periods of time is a challenge. When you need a lot of structure to the day, so that could be considered care needs as well, which is what the SNA will support him with. Regular movement breaks, and just being able to get up out of the seat for a while to refocus and sit down again for concentration.
That's good.
Get the support for all of that stuff from his SNA. And then there's a lot of extra homework allocated to him to just help him keep up with his curriculum, etc.
Okay.
So that's how it works. Resource hours then are also allocated within the school, and it is up to the school to allocate resources as they see fit based on the children they have in that year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about this as well is because of how you got involved with the school, because I see that as a great way of one, raising awareness, I suppose, about Noah and his needs and his wonderfulness, and trying to get the school to be a buffering environment. But also, I suppose, for you as a mom to do again your utmost to ensure that he gets the best that he can get. And by bringing people along kind of with you, Would you say that's right? Building relationships and getting people to buy into it and to care?
Yeah, probably my biggest piece of advice to a parent. I mean, I have learned more from Noah than he will probably learn from me. And I think that the biggest piece of advice I could give to anybody who has a child with an intellectual disability or communication difficulties specifically is the more involved that you are in the community, and the more involved that your child is in the community, and the more involved that you are in the school, and more that you can represent your child in terms of your voice, the more successful your child is going to be. And the amount of learning, and I shouldn't say just learning, openness to learning and openness to getting to know Noah. And when we walk to school in the mornings now, and Noah's a really independent little dude, he wants to go everywhere himself. He doesn't want me bringing him. He's a big boy now, he's in first. He wants to walk to school by himself. So every parent in the school knows him. The lollipop lady knows him. The caretaker knows him. It doesn't matter. Everybody will get a good morning from Noah. He will cheer them up. They will give them their good morning back, and everybody knows him. And it's really an incredible experience. And it's because I think we were open to talk to people and let them ask their questions. And then they have an openness to understand him, and they love him. And it will help him in the long run to be part of the community that he's well able to contribute to, right, in the long run.
Absolutely. And so to go back to the purpose of the blog when you started it, a lot of it was about, if I remember correctly, kind of knowing that there's a lot of goodwill in the world, but also kind of feeling ignorance, you know, and not wanting to say the wrong thing or a dopey or hurtful thing. So to kind of demystify Noah and the situation and family life for people.
Absolutely. And you know, I always say you can't say something wrong if it comes from a good place. You know, people can be very sensitive to language, and it is very important. Language is very important. But I think I would hate for people to be afraid to talk to me in case they might use the wrong word or say the wrong thing. For me, if questions are coming from a good place and a place of genuine interest and they're authentic, you know, it's hard to say the wrong thing to me. But I do think that putting ourselves out there and just giving Noah's real story to people in a format that they could understand has absolutely contributed to his being accepted and loved in the way that he is within the school. And people just have embraced the information, and I get great questions and great conversations from people, but it has also reflected in the children. You know, they're interested in Noah, and he's just one of the crew, he's just one of the boys, he's one of the guys in school. And if they come home and ask their parents questions, they're better equipped to answer them because they have this format and they have this forum that they can go to. So that's why I started it, and I think in general it's really worked for me. And I have only, or for certainly the vast majority of time, only met positivity from other people.
It's probably also a fabulous resource for any new parent of a child with Down syndrome, I imagine, if they happen to stumble on it.
Yeah, I think that it is. It's not necessarily written in the way that it's written in a kind of open way for people who may or may not have experience with disability. Yes, I would really hope that if a new mom stumbled over my website, that they would get a lot out of it. There was nothing there when Noah was born, and I felt very, very lost, and I would have loved to read somebody's real life experience. You know, you don't want to hear only bells and whistles, because let's be honest, it doesn't feel truthful. So I wanted it to be authentic. So if there is a young mom out there or a young dad, you know, who's starting out on their journey, that they can get something out of it too.
Yeah, and also I think it's important to say that I know how adventurous you guys are as well, you know, with your camper van and all the cool stuff that you do. So, you know, you do lots. It's not like the fact that Noah has certain challenges that they get in the way of, you know, of anything really, you know. I mean, obviously there might be certain scenarios. I remember when he was small and not liking the sand and stuff, but again, children
Yeah.
have their quirks at the best of times. Um,
Yeah.
but that is
We were
what's
the
nice.
only family in Ireland with a camper van on the beach and a child who didn't like sand, which was, in its essence, quite a challenge. But it's really nice that you bring that up, because we have been all over Europe. Noah has been on planes, he's been on boats, he's been in camper vans, he's been in trains, he's been on the French metro, he's been on the motorways in Germany, he's been on the U-Bahn, he's been everywhere. He's had different foods, different languages, different experiences.
Very
We have
cosmopolitan.
Absolutely. We haven't adapted their life in any way. He has slotted into it and loved the adventures as much as anybody else would.
Yeah.
Yes, we may have to take our time, and we may need extra patience, and it takes a bit longer to get from A to B to C. But you know what? That has its merits. And he is a very adventurous little boy, and up for anything really, if you prep him in advance.
Oh,
Then good.
too funny. Okay, just one last one. So, Cara, in terms of, um, would there be anything that you would love to see the Department of Education or any other department in terms of government policy to kind of make any changes that would help Noah and other little kids like him, or grant greater security to you as well as parents?
Yeah. I mean, I'm somewhat baffled insofar as I have an 8-year-old boy who is highly capable, and there is no reason why in the future he can't be a contributing member of society, why he can't have his own job, pay his taxes and live an independent life like the rest of us. There are more success stories of people and adults with Down syndrome in the world today than ever before. And we know that early intervention and policy when kids are younger impacts the future success of people, right, and of these children, and how much they can give back to society. It is amazing to me that there is no access to occupational therapy, there is no access to speech therapy, there is no access to physiotherapy. We got a letter. Noah was dismissed from his early intervention group when he was 6, and we got a letter to say he's now out in the community for these various different resources that he needs, and he has a 4-year waiting time before he gets in the door, right? Wow. Which means he'll be 10, yeah. Right? So we are missing a huge opportunity in the first 10 years with children to get them ready to become interactive members of society. And therefore it falls on parents. It falls on parents, and we do the best we can. But I really think that this is an area where we need a huge amount of focus and investment in order to set people up to give back later.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I know I said that was the last one, but just one other one. In terms of supporting parents better, is there anything that can be done, or what groups? I know you're involved with some syndrome related events and work as well in a shop. Do you think it's important that parents who are similarly situated support one another and share advice and learning, or are there other state related supports that you would like to see implemented?
But there's two things. And I think, first of all, the community is incredible. And any parent who finds themselves in the Down syndrome community will be amazed at the amount of support that you will get from other parents. The forums, the friendships, the like-minded people that you will meet, and people who've had very similar experiences to you, is incredible. And it's probably the biggest support we have is each other. I think there's a massive gap when children are born. So the whole neonatal structure, the support that you get in the maternity hospital the healthcare support that you get is exceptional, but as a parent, and the psychological support, and the support of helping you deal with the news that you get when your baby is born, is the massive gaps. And I think that sets parents up for success if at least they're able to deal with correct, accurate, updated information when your baby is born. Is a massive gap. And I think from there, yes, from the state, you'll get good support in the first 2 to 3 years, but it wavers off after that. And that is in my opinion, a very, very, very crucial time between the age of 3 and 10, when we're integrating into school, integrating into education, integrating with other kids. Communication becomes incredibly important. That is the area that we need some investment. Now, others will also tell you when we get to 18 and school is over,
Sure.
right, we hit this wall again. So
Yeah.
you do all of this work, you get the whole way through the school system, you come out at the age of 18, and then there's huge gaps. Where do you go? And what kind of training is available? The job opportunities are really, really pitiful, quite honestly. And the ability for people who have managed to make it through the school system to be successful in the workplace is the next gap. So you have a gap at the start and you have a gap then at the end of the school system that really, really needs to be filled.
Lots of food for thought there, Cara. You've articulated it beautifully for me. Thanks so much. I was talking to a chap recently about social enterprise, and one of the biggest areas they're looking into is in the disability sector, because there's whole pile of untapped potential, as you've said, and
Yeah.
people kind of festering when they needn't at home, you know, when they could be in the world and contributing wonderfully and being part of important things. So look, thank you so much for sharing your reflections, your journey and your ambitions and hard work with Noah and your family with us for Law and Justice in this discussion on policy. Have a great evening, and best of luck with everything going forward, Cara. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye.